Well, so it's interesting is I actually left graduate school and came into government. I started at the Office of Management Budget, excuse me, and spent about 7 years in federal government initially. Then I went to state and local government, came back into the federal government, and then went to work in private equity and then for technology firms. So um, I've had a kind of a not a normal career path in and out of government and in and out of different levels of government. And all along the way, what's been interesting to me is the power of technology to dramatically improve the outcomes for the citizens that you're serving. And so this idea of taking your goals, the outcomes you're trying to achieve, and dramatically improving the efficiency and effectiveness of the organization through the application, the smart application of technology. Yeah, so I started in school as an economics major, and I moved more and more closer to public policy studies by just investigating different degrees. And what I loved about it was the ability to impact more people in a more consequential and positive way than in any of the other fields I was looking at. And during the time I was at undergraduate and later graduate school, I had an internship in the local city government in Chicago, working for the Chicago Park District, and it was just the most interesting and exciting opportunity to do meaningful and important work. My last role in government was serving as the administrator of the General Services Administration. And in that role, we actually added what we called the third leg of the stool to GSA. We actually added a technology transformation service, and we launched something called 18F, which was um, it was an in-government resource for identifying problems that could be solved through the better application of technology, and then actually developing the technology to solve those problems. It was the evolution of government services, the evolution of technology, and frankly the lack of kind of internal support for that kind of work. So the technology had actually advanced dramatically faster than the organizations had in adopting it. And so what we found when we got there was that there was this need for an organization within GSA or somewhere within the government that could make the government a better, wiser, smarter, and more careful customer of technology and information technology services. So it was just a disconnect between the way technology had evolved and the government's pace in keeping up with it. Well, so the interesting thing about an 18F is you're going to be working in a consulting like organization that's going to do the work that customers want done. So, if you like the idea of maybe doing the smorgasbord and sampling a little of this, a little of that, 18F's a great place to do it. If you really have a commitment to a particular issue, if you're really interested in the environment, you're really interested in um, foreign affairs, you're really interested in defense, then there's no better place to do that work than in the agencies themselves. And each one of these agencies have tremendous need for technologists. In many cases, they're the people on the other side of the relationship with the 18Fs. So it really is up to the individual who's trying to figure out what they want to do and how they want to have an impact. Well, I don't think there was a time that I wasn't proud to work in government and to work with my fellow government employees. I mean, the simple fact is that from when I got out of graduate school, I very quickly had tremendous responsibilities, uh, that were entrusted in me. I knew that the work we were doing was going to impact some portion, if not the entirety, of the U.S. population, and because of the U.S.'s position in the world, possibly the world population. I really believe that My colleagues were genuine, committed, dedicated public servants and patriots. And even when people were getting it wrong, I saw very, very, very few instances where people were doing that intentionally. I mean, there was a real sense that what people were trying to do was important, meaningful, and helpful work. And there's no way you can't be proud when you get to do work like that. There's a great example. The United States Peace Corps was having serious difficulty with their staying in communication with the Peace Corps volunteers. These are the folks who actually deploy to these various foreign countries to project positive soft power and engage in meaningful economic redevelopment and other projects in these international locales. The headquarters of Peace Corps, it's very important that they stay in touch with the Peace Corps volunteers in case there's an issue or they get in trouble, or if there's, God forbid, something bad happening in the country, they need to be warned. And their email was just crashing. It was unresponsive. And what we found through our strong relationship with the leadership of the organization was that they were not using a recent generation cloud-based email service. And we helped them evaluate what the concern was there, and actually were able to get them a latest and greatest kind of off-the-shelf, high quality, and frankly much lower cost email service for the Peace Corps volunteers that dramatically improved their ability to communicate with headquarters. So it was just this instance where a very pretty straightforward and simple fix was able to dramatically improve the quality of the service and safety for people who are out there every day putting their lives on the line for the American people. So it was you know and that's just one story like that. I mean, there's not a almost day that went by in government where there wasn't an opportunity to think about a better way of doing things, applying the latest technology to reduce costs and dramatically improve efficiency and outcome. And there are few places in the world where you get to do that every day and feel good about it. The work I got to do, started at the very cross organization, the federal government level, and then I dove down to the very, very kind of direct service level at local government. I worked in um, regional government and the equivalent of state level government, and then back in federal agencies at the United States Department of Treasury and the General Services Administration. And in each one of those instances, I had an opportunity not only to feel like I was having a positive impact on, a program area that served, big chunks of the population, or the city that I was living in, or even the employees and colleagues that I worked with or had the responsibility to lead. And I think that that's the great thing about public service is that underlying every day the work you're doing, you're having an impact. And if you can make it positive, if you can do whatever you can to slightly improve process or outcomes or massively improve them, then the impact you can have is quite dramatic. I left the General Services Administration in 2015 and then went to work for a real estate private equity firm. I then moved over to a technology firm that was actually a government facing technology firm, startup, and did some consulting and advising work. And then for the last 3 years, I've been with the Emerson Collective, most recently as the CFO of the Emerson Collective, and we're a social impact organization. So it's the interesting thing about a government experience is it prepares you for a variety of different challenges once your service is done or you want to try something else. As a technologist, you have a superpower, right? If you're a technologist, you have this ability to use technology and program it, organize it, structure it, develop it, so that it can do things that people couldn't even dream of a decade ago. So the question is, if you have that superpower, how do you want to apply it? How do you want to maximize the tremendous gift that you've been given in the support of your nation and humanity? And so there's no better place to do that than in public service. And you don't have to dedicate your entire career to it, but you can. And those are meaningful, important careers. I've met, I can't think of anyone I've met who didn't value their time spent in government and didn't think that a career spent in government was time wasted. So I would argue that if you've got this superpower, I would apply it for the most good. And there are few places where you can do that. That's bigger than government. I think it's wise and important to have air on the planet Earth. It's what you need to keep going, right? It's and to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near a nation or even a city or hell a town that wasn't using technology to try to improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the services they're rendering. I mean, there's a simple fact that this is the way things are done now. And to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of progress that still needs to be made in the way the government does this work. So, uh, we need technologists. The country needs technologists. The communities need technologists. Nonprofits need technologists in order to make sure that the services that they're being counted on to deliver are done at the highest possible quality, at the highest level of efficiency and effectiveness. I think it's really important to realize that there's politics and policy and operations, and politics and policy are really important. Politics and policy are really the way you allocate scarce resources to promote certain ideas or principles that maybe elections have determined that we want to move in the direction of. And I had the honor of serving across several different administrations of um, uh, different parties, different affiliations, different policy directions, and in some cases, that's a choice you have to make. It's a one you get to make, and so there's nothing that says you have to trade in your beliefs, and nothing that says you have to trade in your values. And in many cases, the role of the civil servant is to protect and guard and ensure the quality of those institutions and the work that they do. You swear an oath to the Constitution, not to a president and not to an administration. And I think that that's really important. That the civil service is our bulwark and our long term protector and defender of the Constitution of this great country.